Welcome to the Brow Report. Thanks so much for joining us tonight on the show. We are doing something a little bit different on the show. Well, we like doing Periscope. We also like doing YouTube, and we like all sorts of other different video ways of giving you the ability to watch the show, talk to us, interact with us. We're doing Vocal, B-O-K-L-E, for the first time tonight. I'm using the webcam. So you're going to see two different price perspectives if you decide to watch the show. If you do it live on Periscope, you kind of see like almost an HD feel. But on the Vocal, you're going to see like a webcam type feel. But let us know what you think about it. I share the link on Twitter and on the fan page. So go to facebook.com/Brower Report. You can check it out there. The video should be there after the show as well. So give us a try. Tell us what you think. We're always trying to think about new ways of giving you the news and views that you can use because we're looking out for you, the American people. Tonight, looking at the iPad now because we're so technology savvy here on the Brower Report. Tonight on the show, Jim Webb drops out of the Democrat primary race. Who's Jim Webb? We'll tell you who Jim Webb is in just a moment. Third poll shows Clinton lead widening. I don't know why, but hey, people are just nuts nowadays. Trump and Carson leading the polls on their end. We're also seeing Fiorina dropping in the polls. Jeb falling in the polls in Florida. So just Jeb, I shouldn't even want to be around. So we're talking about that. Judicial Watch shows documents with linkage to the White House spin on Benghazi, linking it to a YouTube video. And of course, at the end of the show, you get the feel-good story of the day. So feel free to tell us what's on your mind. Tell us what's going on Periscope. Periscope, we'll read your comments on Periscope. And join us on Vocal, V-O-K-L-E. Click on the link for my Twitter feed at Brower Report, or go to facebook.com/Brower Report and click the link there. Tell us how you like it. If you don't like it, let us know, because we are very flexible. We're looking at new ways to get more information out to you, the American people. And we're joined, as always, by Republican strategists, campaign strategist, and great friend and co-host of the show on Tuesdays, Chris Berardi. How are you doing tonight, Chris?
Hey, man, good to be on. And, I'm calling in from my rotary dial phone here in the car. And listen to all this technology that you guys work with. And, it's always great.
We try to give the people what they want. People want a video, and they're going to have so much video, I'm going to use up all their bandwidth. So I'll give them as much video as they want. I'm not the best looking guy in the world, so if you want to watch me on video, fine. If you don't like the video, go to blogtalkradio.com/Brower Report. Listen to the show there. We have all sorts of ways for you to listen, watch, and learn from all of us here at the Brower Report. Let's start off, Chris. Today, Democrats, Jim Webb drops out of the Democrat race for President of the United States. A lot of people don't know about Jim Webb unless you're kind of in political circles like we are. Jim Webb, former senator from the state of Virginia, announced Tuesday he will drop out his bid for Democrat presidential nomination. He said in a statement, I fully accept that my views on many issues are not compatible with the power structure and the nominating base of the Democrat Party. Webb told reporters at the National Press Club in Washington, the current Democratic hierarchy, he said, is not comfortable with many of the policies laid forth, and frankly, I am not that comfortable with many of theirs. Chris, I thought this guy should be running as a Republican anyways. What's your thoughts on Jim Webb dropping out?
Yeah, I guess the first thing is that, I'm sure George Pataki is breathing a sigh of relief that he won't face Jim Webb in the general election.
That's awesome.
But seriously, watching the debate the other night, Democrat debate, Jim Webb was the only one with any sense of sanity up there at all. I mean, he was the only one that sounded reasonable. He had positions that would have put him, certainly as a moderate Republican on the stage if he were in the Republican primary. So, and I see his frustration, the coronation on the Democrat side. While the media wants to spin how chaotic the Republicans are with all these different people running, here's the fact. There are a lot of different ideas on the Republican side, a lot of different viewpoints, and they're having a lot of different debates to hash them out. it's not a coronation for anyone like it is for Hillary on the other side. You know, they haven't limited debates to 4, 5, 6. You know, they want the American people to hear all their candidates and, you know, not just be shoved one of them out front. So, you know, one of those differences between Republicans and Democrats, I suppose. But, you know, Jim Webb, I'm not sure. I'm not sure that I hope he runs independent or not now, because I'm not sure he wouldn't pull more votes from the Republicans.
Yeah. As we're trying to work the audio on vocal tonight, VOKLE, our newest attempt at video video for the Brown Report radio show, we did get a report. It was kind of pitchy, as you can say, but I think we got the audio kind of figured out on that. So, folks, if you're watching, forgive us. We are working it as we go. First live attempt at this. So, thanks so much for being patient for us. So Jim Webb, I mean, I don't know why he even was running, to be quite honest. I mean, Jim Webb is not your stereotypical left-wing nut job Democrat, socialist, communist now, progressive. That's what we're seeing now. And I don't know why. Maybe Jim Webb was just trying to say this is the last-ditch attempt of any kind of moderate Democrat trying to run for office for the President of the United States. I wish Jim Webb the best. From what I saw his debate performance, he was about the only person that was sane on that of all the candidates up there, and he might just want to become a moderate Republican because the guy seemed like he was way. I guess you could say he was not very comfortable up there with all those people, because those people were purely trying to say how much they can give away to people rather than actually fix the problems of our country.
You know, it's funny, Matt. We hear all the time from the liberal media and from liberal journalists, you know, how much they talk about how Ronald Reagan he couldn't be a Republican today. He wouldn't be conservative enough. You know, you hear that nonsense all the time. And, well, here's a guy that was in Jim Webb that was certainly a lot more like a JFK Democrat. And clearly, they've just proven there's no room on the Democrat side for someone who's more moderate. So, you know, JFK probably couldn't be a Democrat today. He's not liberal enough. You know, it's the opposite side of the coin, you know, that the media never, ever wants to report. The fact is that the Democrats have gone further and further left, and you know, they've lost their minds. There's no semblance of responsibility at all. I watched a little bit earlier today of C-SPAN and the hearing on the sanctuary city bill that was out in the Senate. And to hear particularly Senator Menendez from New Jersey and some of the others get up there and just lie to the American people with no consequence, you know, that's where the Democrat Party is today. That they're not the party of more moderate ideas or more income being pushed down to the lower levels. They're just flat out far left crazy. And, you know, and they'll lie and say anything to get there. Menendez makes comments about how these sanctuary cities will, you know, they're going to, no immigrants. We don't want any immigrants. And, you know, we don't, there's no proof of this or that. We want to send everyone. No, that wasn't any of it. The bill is pretty simple. If you're a sanctuary city, we want to make sure that if you're here illegally, not an immigrant, an illegal immigrant, if you're here illegally and you've broken the law, in other words, you've committed a felony, at least twice, that we're going to send you back. That sounds like far more forgiving than we even should be, but to the Democrats in the current party, that is, you know, the same as saying we don't ever want any immigrants in America ever again. It's just how ridiculous
Yeah, it honestly is. How crazy it's really gotten with this. I don't get the Democrats at all. I mean, it's like you would think that they want to protect like union jobs, Chris, and they don't want to protect anybody's jobs. It's like they want to give everything away, and that's what I'm going to go right now to Hillary Clinton. Politico shows third poll shows Clinton lead widening after debate. It reads Hillary Clinton's lead in the Democratic race for a nomination has grown only wider, according to the results of the new national NBC News Wall Street Journal poll released Tuesday. Clinton picked up 49%, while Vermont Senator Bernie Sanders drew 29%, and Vice President Joe Biden, who has not announced whether he will run, took in just 15%. The numbers would appear to suggest that the former Secretary of State is only candidate who benefited from last week's Las Vegas debate. It's a decrease of 6 points from last month for Sanders. Here's the thing, Chris, and you're a strategist. You work with a lot of campaigns. This is the craziest thing I've ever seen. People talk about Donald Trump's numbers are crazy because, it's Donald Trump. But look at Hillary Clinton for a few moments here. Hillary Clinton's numbers, I mean, honest to God, why are they so high? I mean, the woman is a compulsive liar. She lies constantly to the American people, and I don't get why she continues to rise in the polls. I mean, do we want a liar, snake in the grass type candidate for president of the United States? I mean, this is really crazy.
Well, it just shows how weak the field is with Democrats. Let's up at that stage the other night. Okay, let's remove Jim Webb because he's removed himself now. But you had Hillary, then you had a socialist who is 70-something years old, who basically bowed down to Hillary by making mistakes that she did about her damn email. Then on the other side, you have Mark O'Malley, who cares. Other than some awkward hand motions, he was completely forgettable. And Lincoln Chafee, who would be a very weak Cape Coral City Council candidate. This is the field running for president on the Democrat side. I mean, you put Hillary, who actually, at least, even though she's lying, she knows how to speak. But you put her up there on a stage full of, I'm going to have to use a line from President Obama, up there with the JV team. And, that's what you get, You're going to see our numbers go up because the rest are just so damn bad.
Yeah, they are that bad. And I want to say that, hey, I would like to see Hillary Clinton run against whoever the Republican nominee is. But I would like to see Bernie Sanders versus Donald Trump. Just for the pure sake of Donald Trump, capitalist, Bernie Sanders, socialist, and let's see what plays out. The scary part here, Chris, is a lot of people don't even realize that Canada just had an election not too long ago, and they're putting in a liberal socialist as Prime Minister of Canada. And I'm like, don't these people realize? Just look over to Europe. They have a crisis, a debt crisis that's unbelievable. They cannot barely keep going with what they're doing. Greece is in a huge mess. Portugal, Italy, you name it's in a mess. And they're taking hundreds of thousands of refugees. They can barely even control what they've got going on. And the United States is going to be taking in refugees. And not only that, I think Canada's probably going to take in some as well. Socialism doesn't work, people. If it worked so great in these other countries, why the hell did they flee to here? That's the thing, Chris. People don't realize we're going down the same path these other countries are going when the people are trying to flee to us. It's really out of control. People get it.
It is. It's funny how that works. And we see it on a micro level when you see people who move down here to Florida from states like New York and Illinois and, want to change things to the way they did things up north. You're left New York. New York is the highest, tax rate in America. Illinois is bankrupt and raising taxes everywhere it can. And you want to do that down here? No, please stay up north. Stay. Don't come if that's what you want to do.
And here, too, Chris, the Canadians.
Down here, take this just like yours.
Well, look at the Canadians. They come down to Florida. for their winter homes and vacation and stuff. Here's the thing. If it's so great in Canada, why don't you stay there year round? I mean, we've had situations where Canadian elected officials come to the United States for health care because they can't get it in Canada. And they're the ones running the damn thing. That's crazy.
Exactly that. Exactly. And to go back to your other point about it being Trump against Bernie Sanders, I mean, if that's really the race, then Trump just needs to give Sanders $1 billion of his dollars and let him just throw it up in the air everywhere he goes. Because that's exactly what will happen if he's elected. He just cut down the whole middleman on election process. Just let him throw his billion up and see who catches it.
Yeah, he's going to make it rain. That's what he's going to do. Rain with dollars. That's what Bernie Sanders is all about. And I guess we posted this on the Brown Report Facebook page earlier today. I thought it was really funny, so we put it up there. During a debate, every time the Democrats or Bernie Sanders talks about giving away something, then take a swig of your friend's beer rather than your own, because sharing's caring. Just take something from somebody else. That's what this is all about. It's not about getting an education, getting a good paying job, taking care of your family. I didn't hear one damn thing about that, Chris, during the debate with the Democrats. They weren't talking about how to help people. They're talking about how I could steal from somebody else. That's the scary part, is that they're manipulating people to think that the wealthiest 1% are the evil ones, while in reality, the wealthiest 1% are creating a lot of the jobs in this country through trickle-down economics. They're the ones spending the money. They're the ones making the capital investments. They're the ones that are keeping the money in the stock market. If you want to scare off the rich people, look at Greece. The millionaires and the billionaires said, peace out, we're out of here, kick rocks. You're not going to get us for over 90% tax rate. We'll go to the United States. And guess what happened in Greece? Well, over 40% unemployment. The banks have been raided. There's no money really there. I mean, they give you like the ability to pull out only a certain amount of money a day. And I think it's below $50 a day. That's as much as you can get out of an ATM in Greece right now because of the bad socialistic policies. And people want that to come here. They're out of their damn minds.
Yeah, it's interesting that what happens is you have people like Bernie Sanders talk about the wealthy and taxing the wealthy, and you have Hillary Clinton jump right in and do the same thing, and the rich, well, here's the thing. Go ahead and raise taxes on the rich. Go ahead and do it, because guess what? The rich just won't create jobs anymore. The rich will take their money and go somewhere else, and they can do that because they're rich. They can move wherever it's convenient and wherever it's going to be the best investment for them, and that's one of many areas where liberals just their logic is kind of flawed. There's nothing forcing them to stay here and create jobs and continue to invest into an economy that's stagnant. They can go invest anywhere they want, or they can just sit on their money. They're rich. They get to control what they do with their money still. Sorry, Bernie. Sorry, Hillary. They still get to control what they do with their money. The second part of that debate that is, just unbelievable is that one of the few questions pertaining to the world and military and foreign policy, the greatest threat facing the world today, the greatest threat, it's not ISIS, it's not Iran, it's not any of that. No, global warming.
No, it's climate change. You can't say global warming anymore because it's almost wintertime. If you said that, Chris, it was like global warming. It's wintertime. It's global cooling. It's climate change. That's the hip new thing.
The only guy in the States that looked at the rest of them like they were all insane was Jim Webb, because clearly he's a military vet. He's a combat vet. He understands that the greatest threat to the world is not climate change.
No, it's not.
And that's just an answer.
And speaking of climate change, Chris, I go through social media sometimes during the day and see people posting on these news articles, and it's just if you say that it's not man-made climate change, these left-wing nut jobs attack you like it's going out of style. And when you bring the facts, like I bring this up, did we cause all these warming trends in the past during the history of the Earth? Did we cause all the cooling trends? So I would like to say, please explain to me and other people, how are we doing this? It's like, oh, it's the CO2. No, it's not. One volcano can go off and completely throw the Earth's, climate out of whack by a couple degrees. A couple degree change would actually, if it warmed up a little bit, it'd actually be a good thing because it gives you a longer growing season, and the liberals won't admit to that, climate change people. But if you cool it down by a couple degrees, there'll be mass starvation because the growing period, the growing season would actually be cut short on the front end and the back end. These liberal left-wing nut jobs don't understand climate. Climate does change, but the human race is not this, this evil thing. And if the United States is so evil, Chris, how come these left-wing nut jobs don't tell China and India to stop doing coal-fired power plants? Go over there and start telling them how to do things. I guarantee if they did that in China, Chris, they'll be locked up in a prison labor camp, and then they'll be chopping coal for the coal power plants.
This president can't even get China to stop spying them and stealing, scripts and doing cyber attacks.
Yeah.
So
we can't stop that.
To cut emissions, that's never going to happen.
And, I mean, the Chinese government does not, they care a little bit about the American people, because here's the thing, we buy their stuff. If we stop buying their stuff, they're going out of business. And if you have 300 to 400 million starving Chinese people, it doesn't matter how many guns they don't have, that's a lot of people that can overthrow government. 30 to 40% of the people would be a lot of people to throw over that government. But I get back to Hillary Clinton just for a second, and we'll move on here, Chris. I think Hillary Clinton, the only reason, and maybe this is my tinfoil hat moment of the night, but it's not really that, conspiracy theorish. But some of the people in the Democrat Party are so scared of Bernie Sanders and his left-wing lunacy, they would actually vote for Hillary because she's a kind of a voice of reason. Do you think that's kind of far-fetched? And I think we might have lost Chris. We did lose Chris just for a second there. All right. Okay, I think Chris, we lost him just for a minute. He will be back in just a moment. But I really think that Hillary Clinton, this might be, she might be that one last voice of reason, if you call her a voice of reason. But we shall see with Hillary Clinton. Don't really know what's going to happen with her. But it's just really just nuts that we used to fight wars against socialists and communists. And now we are actually embracing them. I know, it's kind of a crazy thought. We're actually embracing socialists and communists now. No, I'm not embracing them. But we have so many people out there that are actually good with socialism, that kind of socialism, just stealing people's money at any cost. It's really ridiculous. You're listening to the Brow Report Radio Show on blogtalkradio.com/Brow Report. Thank you so much for listening to us there. We greatly appreciate it. We also appreciate you watching us live on Periscope. Interact with us on Periscope. You can chat if you're on the app. And we're also on Vocal, VOKLE. So join us there. We are live on Vocal now. We're going to try this out. It's a new way of doing things. It is live streaming on your laptop and PC is the best way to view it. Trust me, that's the way to view it. So Periscope, if you do mobile device, Vocal, if you like doing a laptop or on a PC, that's the way to go. It's the new hip thing that we're trying here on the Brow Report Radio Show. And listen, we got Chris back. We're getting back on the line right now. Chris, are you there?
Yeah, sorry about that. Must have been the climate change between the two buildings I was in.
Yeah, it's the rotary phone too. When you're dragging that much cord around, that tends to happen. You probably pulled it out of the wall, but that's okay.
Yeah, probably true. Yeah, I had to get Mabel to dial it back up. what was the Andy Griffith? Who is the operator there?
All right, let's talk about this for a second.
Going back.
We got a question on vocal tonight. Do you think Republicans can screw this speaker thing up so bad that the voters swing to Democrats? Do you think this internal infighting would actually start swinging some people who maybe go Democrat in the presidential election if we have this big bloodbath in Congress, Chris?
Yeah, that's interesting because I certainly have some insight on this from a congressional perspective, but there's infighting. It happens every time you have a speaker change. That it's not always this normal, clean process. You have a whole lot of people in Washington who are interested in having power, and it's only natural that there's going to be a little bit of a battle. There's no chaos. There's no sky falling. It's a normal process. We've had instances in the past where it's taken up to 2 months to pick a speaker. The media wants to make it seem like, the Republicans are in disarray. Well, really they're not. There's still a speaker. John Boehner's not going anywhere until there's a new speaker. There just isn't any chaos. You're making a big decision. You want to make sure that all sides come out of this with what they want. You want it to be a win for all factions of the Republican Party. You have a Freedom Caucus that is a 40 to 50 member group, 50 counting other people who vote with them. You want to make sure that group is well heard and that some of the ideas that they have are listened to. There's some basic things that group wants that are separate from whoever may become speaker. There are some process changes to committee assignments and to how committee chairs are elected, how amendments are added or heard. They have their own agenda that they want as part of this negotiation. It'll be a better process going forward if they get some of the things that they want. There's no crisis. This is just it's just Washington business. It's politics, and the media is making it out to be a crisis. But what's different right now, other than there are a whole bunch of people talking about who should be the speaker and how quickly it should happen, and what's the real crisis? We haven't lost anyone yet. Boehner's the speaker as long as it's going to take to get a new speaker. It's business as usual until there's a new guy in charge. It's really not the chaos that everyone makes it out to be. And quite honestly, up until right now, other than them trying to make sure they reach consensus, this is not occupying everybody's waking hour. There are things going on in regards to actually running the government and passing laws and bills and budgets and things like that are still happening. None of that's changed. So there just isn't this panic that the media wants you to think there is.
And after McCarthy kind of dropped out, there's some scandal stuff going on there. Typical Washington politics is normal. Now they've got Paul Ryan. Speaker Boehner said that he was supposed to make an announcement tonight. Then I guess one of Paul Ryan's people tweeted out, I guess one of his head guys in his office said, "Thanks, Speaker Boehner, for doing this. Now I've got all these questions to answer." Then he says, Paul Ryan had no intention to come out tonight, talk about it. Then all of a sudden, Paul Ryan says he's going to come out, talk about it. I don't know if he's live right now talking about it, but I don't know. Paul Ryan was the VP nominee in 2012. Ever since then, Chris, you're a pretty politically astute guy. You're pretty well connected with Republican politics. This guy is kind of fallen off the face of the earth. Am I right with that?
Yeah. If you're Paul Ryan, and if you have in your mind, and I don't know if he does or not, but if you have in your mind somewhere down the road that you want to be president of the United States, becoming the Speaker of the House is not the way to get there.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm sure that's weighing on his decision. I'm sure there's a lot of things, family issues. I think a lot of times you hear candidates talk about that, and that's really not. That's more of a smokescreen than you would think. But really, in this case, I think there is some definite validity to that. He's got kids that are younger, the job of speaker, because of the way our government works now, will keep you on the road a couple hundred days a year, raising money. It's not necessarily the greatest job for a younger guy with a family, and it certainly is not the job for a guy that might want to be president. So lots of factors to consider.
Yeah, and I don't know what Paul Ryan's end game is. Does he want to be the president of the United States? I mean, if you're running for VP, you do have aspirations to maybe become president of the United States. But at the same time, after that 2012 election, Paul Ryan, really not on TV as much as he was leading up to his nomination for the VP candidate on the Republican ticket. So I don't know if Paul Ryan, I don't know if he really wants it. Does he really want it? That's the thing.
I mean, he's a young guy with a lot to consider, and Washington could be a long game. And the other thing you have to consider is that his district isn't 100% locked Republican. I mean, he wins elections up there by I won't say by razor thin margins, but certainly not by landslide in his current congressional district. So, I think he also is maybe looking at the fact that Eric Cantor, thought he had a nice, safe district and was able to, keep moving up the ranks and maybe be speaker. But, when you don't pay attention to the district back home and it's not 100% safe district, surprises could happen, as we saw with Cantor. So there's a whole lot to consider for Paul Ryan. And, there's a whole lot of other people in Washington, D.C. that are in Congress that are certainly capable of doing the job. So I don't think we need to continue to have a fascination with Paul Ryan if he doesn't want the job.
Now, my daughter does like Paul Ryan. She's a 5-year-old, Chris. She's 5.5 years old. So she's like, hey, Paul Ryan. She loves Paul Ryan all the time. She really loves Paul Ryan. So that was with when she was, 2012. So she was about 2-ish, 2012. Yeah, she was around 1 3/4, starting to talk. She always said Paul Ryan. And of course, my mother-in-law, I wouldn't say she's per se a hardcore Democrat, but she's kind of a Kennedy Democrat. It was kind of funny when she said Paul Ryan around my mother-in-law. It was pretty epic. And I'm like, I told, my wife's a bit conservative, and she's like, it's like, Sophia, my daughter Sophia kept on saying, Paul Ryan. And I'm like, oh man, this is going to be an awkward Thanksgiving.
You should periscope that.
Yeah. Yeah, it was pretty funny stuff. Now, here's the thing, Chris. We're on Vocal, VOKLE. We're on Periscope. We're on Blog Talk Radio. We're pretty, we're hip in terms of social media stuff now. The cool thing, Chris, is eventually we could actually do dual screens if we ever want to do a simulcast in Vocal. So, folks, what we can do, maybe if Chris ever wants to go live and you can actually see Chris talking to you, we might do that. Barry, Bill, producer Steven, Tyson. I think we got a really cool thing here, Chris. I mean, we can actually probably do some video conferencing shows like this. I'm really excited about the direction of the show, Chris, because you see a lot of internet-based, radio shows and video shows. We are a real show here. I mean, we are not trying to make millions of dollars or try to become ultra famous people. We discuss the issues that other shows, mainstream media doesn't dare touch. I mean, do you think that Fox News is going to talk about why Paul Ryan dropped off the face of the earth back in 2012 after the election? No. I mean, why would they want to talk about that? We're actually discussing why he dropped off the face of the earth tonight. And we're talking about why is Hillary Clinton going up in the polls. It's not because necessarily free stuff. It's maybe because she's actually it's a very scary thought, the voice of reason over left-wing Bernie Sanders. I mean, these things are not coming up in the mainstream media, and I think these are valid questions that the American people should be asking themselves. Why people do the things that they do, and why are things happening the way they're happening? And I think that's why we have people that love to interact with us and talk to us. And, you know, we want to hear from you folks. If you're watching Live and Vocal, tell us what's going on in the text chat, Periscope, talk to us. Give us a call on Blog Talk Radio. We are not afraid to take your calls. Right, Chris? We'll take their calls. We are not afraid to talk to them.
Absolutely. Calls, emails, anything. You know, that was a good question from the listener that you just read off a few minutes ago. So, I mean, keep them coming.
Yeah, we want to hear from you. We are a grassroots show. We are not too good not to take your calls. I mean, some people that call into these national radio shows might stay on hold for an hour. I mean, you might stay on hold for a minute with us. We will take your calls. We're not going to ignore you. We may not agree on everything, but that's the thing. We can have a valid discussion still in this country and exercise the First Amendment rights on the program, on the Brower Report. Let's talk.
Well, and if any listener wants to ask us a question on a specific issue, we won't have a one-word Hillary comment like she did for her email question. We'll actually go into detail.
Yeah, we will go into details. We're not afraid to talk about the issues on this show. All right, let's talk about some polling here. We got a article that I'm pulling from thehill.com. Trump and Carson atop GOP pack in new polls. But they're talking about the establishment GOP donors, the establishment GOP establishment politicians. They want to take, if not one of them down, take both of them down to spread out that 27% that Trump's getting right now and 22% that Carson's getting in this latest polls, to spread it across to some of these establishment candidates to give them a chance. And I think Jeb Bush is that one candidate that really needs it right now. But tell me, Chris, do you see through some of these circles and what you're hearing through the party, is there some kind of truth to this, or is this maybe some kind of spin to get people talking about politics and get some ratings up for these news organizations?
No, I mean, I think it's starting to get closer to crunch time, and I think that some of these bigger establishment candidates, certainly packs of candidates, and some of the candidates themselves are really starting to, get a little concerned that we're getting up, maybe into the third quarter of the first game of the year here, and we're not seeing the flavor of the month or the summer of Trump or however you want to put it. We're not seeing it don't go away yet. Doesn't matter what his comments, he seems to still hang out there at the top. Carson, same thing. I mean, so I think they are starting to get a little nervous that these guys are going to run out the clock and be in the lead come Iowa, and that's certainly a scary thought for the establishment if that's what is going on. So yeah, I think you're going to see some money come out and get spent a little earlier than it would normally be, a little more aggressive than it normally would be. I definitely think you're going to see that.
Yeah, I think so too. Now, Jeb Bush. Let's talk about Jeb Bush for a minute. And we said this so many times in the show, and I'm saying so I'm blue in the face. If I turn blue on the show tonight, it's not because I'm choking, because I'm really turning blue in the face tonight. Jeb Bush seems like he doesn't want to be there. He keeps doing things that, are political missteps that a two-term successful Florida governor would not make. You would think he would not make. He is now polling in single digits, Chris, in Florida. In Florida, of all places, he's polling single digits. If he loses Florida, Chris, I know we talked about this. He might go to the end. I'm telling you right now, if he loses Florida and he's like a fourth or fifth place finisher, he's done. He is absolutely done. There's no way he continues after that embarrassment.
No, game over if he loses Florida. And when I say loses Florida, I mean just that, loses Florida. Jeb Bush must win not come in second or third. He must win Florida if he's going to be the president of the United States. But let's remember that Florida is a winner-take-all state. There's no proportionate delegates this time, as there have been in the past. So the winner gets all the delegates for Florida, and the loser or the second place finisher is just the first loser. They don't get anything. So it is certainly high stakes for Florida, for Jeb, even for Marco, but certainly for Jeb. And he has to win Florida. No question about it for him.
Well, let's talk about Rubio for a second. If Rubio doesn't win Florida, what's his end game? Does he keep going? I mean, I guess it kind of depends on how many people are left after Florida.
Yeah, I mean, there's some big events before Florida. Remember Super Tuesday, because we've moved our primary back, even Super Tuesday comes before Florida this time around. So you're right. It'll be how many people are left at that point. I mean, I just cannot believe that people like Pataki and Santorum and Krieg and Christie and Graham are going to be in on Super Tuesday. I mean, I think they'll be in. A lot of them will be in because they might have a chance in one of those first three states. But both those guys have to be done after that. They just don't have the money or the network to keep on going. So you'll see people fall off. I think Rubio is in it for the long haul because, and especially if he sees some weakness from Jeb, especially if Jeb doesn't win Florida. Rubio doesn't necessarily have to win in Florida. I think he's got a different game. I think, unlike Jeb, Rubio could stay in long enough to be someone's VP pick if he's not the nominee.
Well, that might be his end game, though, because he's not running for Senate. So, I mean, he doesn't necessarily want to be out.
He's out of that picture. So, yeah, I mean, certainly I think he's looking for, either the prime spot as president or certainly as vice president. He's got more options than a lot of other candidates in the race.
Yeah. I'm just.
And I think right now I would consider him to be one of the stronger candidates in the race. Maybe a little bit of a dark horse that's not being talked about as much as you would think, but I think that he's got a very real chance of being our nominee.
Now, I don't like going conspiracy theory all the time, Chris, but you knew I was a campaign director for Nick Wilkerson in Florida back in 2014, and there were 6 candidates in a congressional district race. I mean, when you look at 16 candidates, 16 or 17 that started out in the Republican field, that's like you are really trying to shallow out the Republican pool. And I think that some of these candidates are in there because they're told, you need to shallow this thing out a little bit for us so we have a chance to win. I think that's what they're trying to do, but I think it's backfiring on them. Because it's not like you're getting like 10, 10, 10, 10, 10, 10, like, a good spread. You're getting like 1s and 0s and 2s and 3s. If this is a real strategy from some big GOP donors or the establishing GOP, this is an utter failure what they're trying to do. Because this is helping Trump. This is helping Carson the most, I think, right now. Is helping those two anti-establishment, non-politician type of candidates right now. It's helping them. It's not hurting them at all, I think.
I don't think there's any strategy on the part of the establishment to add candidates or to keep a pretty broad field. I just don't see the logic in that. I don't see them doing it. You're right. It doesn't help them at all. The more candidates in, let's just be realistic. The more candidates in this race, the better the chance that Donald Trump is our nominee, because he is the only guy that's going to consistently have the name ID that the others just can't buy. They can't buy it. He's worked for years to be Mr. Public Relations and have himself in the spotlight. None of these other guys can buy that now. There's not enough time or money for any of them to get there. So, Trump's going to maintain a certain level, other guys, kind of coalesce around one of those establishment candidates for that candidate to have a chance. So I don't think there's any truth at all to the fact that the establishment wants a big group. It's just nothing. It's just not logical for them.
Now Walker was, I would say, begging people to get out, but he did say that some of these candidates should get out of the race. None of them listened to him, of course. I don't know if they all think they have a chance, but look at this. Donald Trump has $1 billion to spend. There's no way that any of those guys can raise $1 billion. None of them can. So we know this. Jeb Bush has burnt through so much cash. And I think a local news organization, maybe Bay News 9 in Central Florida, in the Tampa Bay area, pointed out that, maybe it was on that network. I'm sorry. There's so many networks I watch, Chris. Forgive me if I get the network wrong tonight. But they're nailing it down. Like Jeb Bush spent like $8,000 on high-end hotel rooms down in Miami for an event, while some of his staffers stayed at the Holiday Inn for like $2,000. The guy, I know he's raised a lot of money. But here's the thing. If you can't raise $500 million maybe in this primary, you're not going to outspend Trump. Trump isn't really spending any money at all. He's getting all this airtime. Even CNN, Chris, CNN puts Donald Trump's, little, his little like town hall things that he does. I mean, they're not really little. I mean, there's a lot of people there, but they put his stuff on live on Friday nights. They're still advertising, and this is just small events. You don't see Rick Santorum getting that, or anybody else.
He's only spent between $2 and $3 million, and he's actually raised more than that, or close to that, in the last cycle. And so we're not even talking about him spending his own money.
He's not even fundraising, Chris. He's not even actually fundraising. These people are just giving him money. That's crazy. That's unheard of.
I mean, that's exactly right. And so, his popularity is going to always maintain a steady level. And, it's going to be, some of these other guys are going to have to figure out who's in and who's out. Because, Jeb, you're right, his burn rate is higher than any other candidate out there right now when it comes to money. He's got a bigger network of staff than some of these other candidates, and while that's good from an organization perspective, it also costs money to do that.
Let's go into, we got some time left. We got a few more things to talk about. Let's talk about Carly Fiorina. This comes from Politico. Fiorina's support collapses. Trump leads in CNN poll. Carly Fiorina's time near the top of the Republican polls may have come to an end as another CNN ORC poll out Tuesday suggests just 4% of Republican or Republican-leaning voters said they would cast their votes for her in the primary election, down from 15% in September. She got a really big bump from the two debates, from the JV debate to the big stage debate on CNN. She got a good bump. But here's the thing. When you got Donald Trump and Ben Carson getting a lot of airtime, they suck the air out of the room of their Republican primary right now. And I think there's only room for two non-politicians. And with her record from HP and Lucent, I mean, this is not looking good for her right now. And especially after Trump kept on bashing her on TV. Like we said, he was on CNN getting free airtime bashing Fiorina at every stop. I mean, she can't compete with that. And I'm not saying she's dropping out yet, Chris, but, I mean, that drop is the most dramatic drop of any candidate. The most dramatic rise, the most dramatic drop is her and her campaign in the polls.
Yeah, and she got the bump, and then she didn't do anything to capitalize on it. And part of that is that she never turned that bump up into a fundraising advantage. So it makes it hard. I mean, she rode the wave, and then it just, that can only last so long before you're out of the news cycle. Trump's a little different because he sells advertising, as you pointed out before. When you have situations like
Of course.
Okay, back to 2 hours. Well, do you think they'd have given in for any other candidate? Of course not.
It's money.
But they know that their viewership's going to be half without Trump. So what do? So of course they're going to cover him more. Fiorina doesn't have that poll, and she didn't find a way to capitalize on the bump. You have to be able to either time it right or capitalize on it or something, and it just didn't happen.
It's about money, and I see this all the time. These debates, they're about ad revenue for CNN and Fox and CNBC. That's what it is. They're all about money, ad revenue. And I think even Donald Trump said it. It's like, they're making this thing 3-4 hours long because they want to make money off the ads. It's not because they really, frankly, give a damn about the future of the United States. They care about how much money they can make right now. Even the Democrat debate was 3 hours too long. I mean, it should have been 10 minutes. It's like, I'll tax the hell out of these people. I'll take their money. I'll give it to you. Vote for me. That's what it came down to. I mean, there was no real policy being discussed.
They could have just walked a unicorn across a rainbow, and we could have been done. I mean, that's basically, what we saw, unicorns and rainbows for the Democrat Party. We didn't really even need to hear any words. Just maybe throw some money in the air as the unicorn was going by, and we'd have been just fine. These debates, even Republican debates, it's not just about money for the stations, the networks. It's also about money for the candidates. Every one of them has a fundraising appeal as soon as the debate ends, as it's going on, right before it, over the next couple of days after it. You have Scott Walker, who has a poor performance in the last debate. You know what that means to investors in his campaign? Wow, he didn't nail it. He didn't knock it out of the park. I think we're done giving money. So all of these debates are about money for not just the networks, but also for the candidates. They're critical to being able to raise enough to keep going because you've got people interested. It's your chance to shine for your donors, for the public, and it's all about creating enough money to get to the next event, get to the next level. Running for president's not a cheap game, and it's kind of sad not to talk about politics in that aspect, but it's a reality.
All right, let's talk about strategy for a second, Chris. There is a debate coming up. Is it on the 28th? Is that right? We got a 28th? Is that the debate?
Yeah, the 28th. Yep.
CNBC, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So we got this debate coming up. We'll talk a few minutes about that. Then we'll go to the feel-good story of the day. I don't know who would actually benefit the most from a win. I mean, Trump's Trump. He can spin it. I mean, he can spin everything pretty much. He's good at what he does. He's a public relations kind of guy. I'm just wondering if Ben Carson has the debate of his life. Can he pass Trump in the polls and really put Trump in a position that he attacks Ben Carson? Do you think that happens?
I mean, that's a possibility. Carson's going to just have to, be steady and continue to keep that calm demeanor, because that's what seems to be the appeal for him to the public, is he's not Donald Trump. He's not that bomb thrower. He's not out there attacking everybody. He's Mr. Calm and cool. He's the surgeon. He's got the calm hand. That's his appeal, and there's certainly going to be that contrast on stage again. We'll see how that goes. He certainly could do well. The other person I think has a lot to gain from this debate is Marco Rubio, again, because he's steadily increased his standing with each of these debates, because he's spoken well. That's one of his strengths, is he can connect with people when he speaks. So he can continue. If he can continue to do that, he can continue a steady rise, which is really the best way to go. That avoids the Fiorina kind of issue where you have the bump and slide. the steady, it's still a long way to go if you're in Rubio's position. So continue that steady climb. So I think those are the keys to look for. And then the other thing I think is that I think Jeb has to show some spark.
Yeah.
There has to be some fire there. I mean, it's to me, it's almost make or break for him. There's been so much criticism of where's that spark, where's that fire. I think it's important for him to show that there is some.
Well, I think Trump, remember when Trump went after George W. Bush a little bit, saying that 9/11 happened on his watch, which it did. And Jeb Bush kind of took exception to that. But here's the thing. If Jeb Bush really wanted to go after Trump, that would have been a perfect opportunity to do so. Defending the honor of your brother, your family, whatever you need to do. But I just didn't get that again, Chris. I just didn't get the strong Jeb Bush response. It's like he doesn't want to be there.
Exactly right. Yep.
It was terrible.
No, you're exactly right. That was absolutely the time when you just no one would blame you.
Lay into him.
Fired up, mad, aggressive, and exactly.
Show me the passion, Jeb. No passion, nothing.
I agree with you 100%. Yep, I 100% agree.
Oh.
That was a moment that was the Ronald Reagan I paid for this microphone moment. That was that was his chance to really show the spark, and it just wasn't there.
It was an absolute failure to engage in political warfare with the front runner. I mean, if you want to be the front runner and the front runner goes after your family member, a former president of the United States, go for it. Show us the passion. How are you going to react to, another world leader going after the American people? How would you react? Apparently, Jeb has no passion for anything anymore. He doesn't want to be there, Chris.
Let's make clear, too, that this is a situation where Trump is far out of the mainstream.
Yes.
Most people in America
very much
feel that George W. Bush did an outstanding job in the days after 9/11. And I think the majority of Americans understand that this occurred early in his presidency. And certainly the people that were in this country, the terrorists that were here, the failure of communication, the failure of intelligence, all occurred prior to the Bush administration. So I think absolutely he missed a chance.
He swing and a miss. He had the biggest chance.
Absolutely.
Now let's talk one more thing, Chris. I want to get your thoughts on. Judicial Watch put out. It says new state documents show quick White House effort to link Benghazi to internet video. We know this has already happened, but there's new information going out about blaming the YouTube video, getting out in front saying that this Benghazi thing was because of a YouTube video, which clearly it wasn't, and it came out that it wasn't. Does Hillary Clinton finally, get burned for this? She's got to go before another committee meeting to testify, but her right-hand woman, was it Uma? And I'm sorry if I mispronounce it, but yeah. She is apparently testifying behind closed doors as well about, what she knows about email gate, Benghazi, and everything. If Uma's smart, she would just rat her out. Because if she doesn't rat her out and it turns out that she did not cut a deal and all of a sudden it becomes really bad, she's going to jail too. Because she is in the conspiracy to commit crimes. If she knowingly is doing that and getting paid, she's in trouble too. So this is going to take. Someone's going to rat somebody out, Chris, because there's going to be some heat. The FBI is involved, and when the FBI gets involved, they're nonpartisan. They're not like the IRS. They're looking to take somebody down to make a career moment. These guys and these gals at the FBI, I got a feeling they're going to sweat somebody pretty hard eventually, and someone's going to break. And I think this might just blow up in Clinton's face and her people's face too.
Not since considering who Huma is married to, I'm sure she's not that smart.
Oh, wow, Chris. That was a good one. I like it.
For listeners that don't know, she is married to Anthony Weiner, or Carlos Danger, whatever he's calling himself.
Whatever handle he is this week.
But so she's not that smart. And, my concern still is that the media has already put the narrative out there that, this just isn't a story. So until someone's indicted, it's just a Republican witch hunt in the liberal media mind. So you're right, there's going to have to be some kind of indictment. There's going to be some kind of very big bombshell thing that points directly at Hillary with no doubt before this is going to be anything that damages her on the way to at least the Democrat nomination. I do think that in a general election, this does have more traction. People do care in general more about this, but it's all in the details, and it's all in how you make it out to a soundbite that the average American will understand and get quickly.
Yeah. I'm hoping that Hillary Clinton finally gets nailed, and whoever is involved in this cover-up in the Benghazi, the email gate, there has to be justice, because we cannot elect people like this to power. And the people that just say, oh, it's a vast right-wing conspiracy, no, it's not. There's laws being violated here. If we want to be a nation of laws, we have to make sure that we hold the politicians to the same standard as the American people are being held to. And unfortunately, Chris, with celebrities and politicians in this country right now, they're held to a different standard. If anybody did the things that they're doing in office, they will be fired immediately from what they're doing. They will be let go from their jobs. But this is the scary part. They keep getting reelected. That's the messed up part about it. It's really scary. But Chris, I want to thank you so much for joining us tonight on the Brow Report radio show. And I hope you have a great weekend. We will talk to you next Tuesday one day before the next debate on CNBC. So we'll have some preview of what we think that they need to say and what they need to get out there.
Well, we'll have all the newest and latest drinking games for the debate, and we'll be good to go.
All right, Chris. Thanks so much for joining us, and you have a great week, my friend.
Thank you, Matt.
Chris Broad, everyone, co-host of the Tuesday night edition of the show. Chris is a Republican strategist, consultant, works on campaigns, and he's an overall great guy. And he loves Disney, too. So that's even better. So I want to thank Chris so much for joining us tonight. I want to thank everyone for watching us on Periscope, Vocal, and listening to us on blogtalkradio.com, and listening to us on iTunes. You have so many ways to watch and listen to the show. There's no reason not to watch or listen to the show. We're giving you so many reasons right now. So I thank you so much for watching the show tonight. And, as always, the feel-good story of the day, because you know why, folks? The people demand the feel-good story. It's a long story, folks. But a woman helps homeless kids celebrate birthdays. Children in homeless shelters across the country often go without a birthday celebration or even a birthday gift. But a Dallas resident, Paige, and I'm sorry if I mispronounce this, Chenault, is out to change that. Go to facebook.com/BrownReport. You can see the graphic that we did celebrating a wonderful woman that is trying to change the lives of children. Remember, folks, our children are our future. If we do not protect our children and try to give them the best possible life, their education, morals, ethics, and just having a good time and celebrating their childhood, we have failed as a nation and as a people. Children are everything to us. Conservatives, Republicans, Libertarians, we must stand up and say we are here to protect our children. We are here to help them. We are here to help the parents get jobs and be responsible for their children. We can't just not have children to have children. We have to have children and have a plan on raising our children. If you don't have a plan, you're just going to give a child nothing to look forward to. But people like Paige, make a difference in children's lives. The simplest thing, a gift, a birthday party, that's what kids remember. Remember your childhood? Did you have a good time? Did you have a birthday party? You remember those things. Remember, folks, it's about changing the lives of children so when they become adults, they can have productive lives. A better childhood prepares your children to have a better adult life. Thanks so much for listening tonight. We greatly appreciate it. Remember, Vocal, V-O-K-L-E. Follow us on Vocal. Follow us on Periscope. Follow us on blogtalkradio.com/BrowerReport. Follow us at Facebook.com/BrowerReport. You got so many ways to watch and listen to the show. You can't avoid us. We're everywhere now. So thanks so much for listening to us tonight. We greatly appreciate it. And we'll be back tomorrow night live, Wednesday night edition of the show, 8 p.m. Eastern Time. So join us live on all sorts of ways to watch our show. And remember, YouTube.com, search it on YouTube.com, Brower Report, and you get the video version after the show as well. Thanks so much for watching and listening. Have a great evening.